if you're stopping over in KL or you're taking a holiday in KL with your family, you might be wondering just how family friendly it is. We'll tell you in this video exactly how family friendly this multicultural city is. Let's get into it. There's a huge variety of food in KL, which is the best thing about it. Because the city is so culturally diverse and you'll find people from all corners of the world, literally, in KL. You'll find Chinese, Japanese, Korean, American burgers, all the big name franchises. So if all else fails for the kids, nuggets and fries is the safe option. You'll definitely find that in KL. Otherwise, kids will love the satay skewers and fried noodles and all that kind of. There's definitely stuff for all members of the family in KL. Your best bet for kid-friendly food in KL will be in shopping centres. We spent a lot of our time eating inside the food halls or the food courts in the shopping centres because they were cheap and they were delicious. And usually you find them at the very top floor of the shopping centre or at the very bottom, in the basement. So basically they have a number of different stalls in the one food court and everyone just sets off and picks whatever they want to eat. And usually they have all types of food from different places. And what would a visit to KL be without visiting the famous hawker street food street, Jalan Alor? This is where you'll find some of the best street food in KL, and you definitely do not want to miss that. Safety. After all, you can't be the adventurous person that you were in your previous life before kids, right? I mean, as much as people say they don't want to change after having kids, you kind of have to. So you want to make sure the place that you're going to is safe before traveling there. And I can assure you KL is very safe. It's actually one of the safest Southeast Asian cities we have been to. Despite KL being a very culturally diverse city, we have never once felt unsafe. I mean, if you walk through the city in KL, you kind of feel like, you get a little feeling of being in a different sort of country. Like one moment you'll feel like you're in India, the next moment you'll feel like you're somewhere in the Middle East, but never once did we ever feel unsafe. Everyone who lives there is very accepting of all the different cultures and religions there, which is one of the things we thought was really, really great about KL. Although the roads are way more developed in KL compared to other Southeast Asian cities, still exercise caution when you're crossing the road because sometimes crossings don't mean much to drivers in Southeast Asia, so you do need to be careful and just exercise general safety precautions. I guess just use common sense, I suppose. Popular places in the city, like markets, can get very crowded, so it can get difficult pushing a stroller through. You want to keep your kids close or either carry them just to be safe, that they don't wander off or you lose them, because yeah, wouldn't want that to happen. Getting around in KL, obviously you want to know whether it's easy and convenient to get around, especially with kiddos in tow in KL. Let me tell you, it certainly is. Most common ways of getting around in KL is using their train system, or MRT, monorail, train, all those kind of things. They pretty much run to most places and the tickets are fairly cheap and it's easy to get around because you'll find a stop in most places if you're within the city area. Another great option, and a free option, because we all know we love everything free, is the Go KL bus. So the Go KL bus, if you're not planning on venturing far from the city, it stops in main attractions like Bukit Bintang, Chinatown and the Petronas Towers. And the best thing about it is it's air conditioned and it has free Wi-Fi. While the Go KL bus only operates within the city centre of KL, another option is to jump on the hop-on and hop-off bus, which you'll pretty much find in every city around the world. The hop-on, hop-off bus travels to places that are further out, like the Botanical Gardens, Little India and the National Palace. Or if you don't mind, you can always rent an O-bike in KL, and we almost did, except we didn't. You can pretty much rent an O-bike for 50 Malaysian ringgit cents an hour. The great thing about O-bikes is you can find them absolutely everywhere. There's Go Bike stations literally every corner you turn. But without a doubt, the best way to get around is using Grab. Uber used to operate in Southeast Asia, but that's been taken over by Grab now. We predominantly got around using Grab. It's super cheap and they're generally everywhere, and it's really quick to grab one. Cost us 75 Malaysian ringgits to get from the airport into the city centre, which is about a 1.5 hour ride, mind you. So that's about 25 Australian dollars, which is very, very cheap. It only ever costs us a couple dollars to get from one end of the city to another. Even from KL to Batu Caves only costs us about 6 Australian dollars. You don't need kids or baby car seats in Malaysia, so just hold on to your baby in your seat while they're driving around. Now, there are taxis in KL, but locals have advised us against getting a taxi, mainly because the taxis are quite old, and as per, I guess, Southeast Asia, you can get ripped off, or they might refuse to use the meter, whereas Grab, it's always a fixed price, and it's usually cheaper than a taxi. And the last one is obviously use your legs and walk, which is something I need to do more of, considering how little exercise I've been doing on this trip. But KL is a very walkable city if you're staying within the city centre, and you'll stumble across many sites, a lot of amazing food. So walking around can be the best option, and especially if you're going around with kids and babies, it's super easy to push a stroller around. Staying connected in KL. So one thing I would advise is to grab a data SIM as soon as you get off your plane. You'll find little stands that sell data SIMs pretty much as soon as you get off your flight. And they're all legit and they're pretty cheap. We bought a traveller SIM card which cost us roughly 30 Malaysian ringgits, which equates to about 10 Australian dollars, which gave us 4 gigabytes of data to use over a period of 1 week. So we were only there for 3 days. It was well worth it, and we wouldn't have been able to use up the 4 gigs anyway. And it enabled us to order a Grab from the airport right away. Super cheap, super convenient. You're probably thinking, what is there to do with kids in KL? Let me tell you, there's a whole heap of stuff to do for kids in KL, and grown-ups alike, or if you're kiduled like me. So first up, there's the KLCC Park, and within the KLCC Park there is a ginormous playground, probably the biggest outdoor playground you have ever seen in your life. And there is also a water activity area where kids can swim and splash around as well, so bring bathers. And within the KLCC Park is also the aquarium that you can take the kids to, Berjaya Times Square. Now you don't want to miss this. They have an indoor theme park. I repeat, they have an indoor theme park with a massive roller coaster that goes upside down. So yeah, you don't want to miss this for kids when you're in KL. There's also the Petrosains Science Discovery Centre. Am I saying that right? Petrosains? It's basically what it is, a science museum where kids can learn all about science, nature and technology, and it's an interactive museum as well, so it's very hands-on and fun for the kids, and it's located within the Petronas Towers. There's a butterfly and bird park within the gardens. Oh, and for older kids, there's Kidzania, and you probably would have heard of it if you've been to Thailand or anywhere else in Asia. They kind of have similar things across the board. It's basically a play center for kids where they can learn to be lawyers, police, firemen, doctors, pilots, any of those things. That's a really good activity for older kids. And of course, KL is hot. So you probably want to take your kids somewhere to cool down. Well, yourself and the kids. That's where the Sunway Lagoon water theme park comes into play. It's basically a huge water theme park with slides and just the general stuff that you'll find at water theme parks. Baby and kids amenities. All major shopping centres have family rooms where you can nurse your baby and change nappies. The best one we've been to was at Pavilion Shopping Centre, where they provided hot and cold filtered drinking water that you can use for formula and to fill up your drinks with. They also had a comfy change table and a private nursing room. High chairs are available in most dine-in restaurants, except obviously when you go and eat hawker street food or along Jalana Law. That's where you probably won't find high chairs, but that's to be expected. Healthcare. What happens, and touch wood it doesn't, if your little one gets sick? Most people in KL speak very good English, so you won't have any problems communicating your issues to someone at a chemist or hotel staff or a doctor. But be sure to try and at least find an international doctor or an international hospital where you know the standards are up to par. Pram, friendliness. So you want to know whether it's worth taking a pram to KL or not? Well, It probably is. It's probably the most pram-friendly city in all of Southeast Asia. Granted, sometimes the gutters can get a little bit high, so you kind of have to give your pram a little bit of a boost to go up gutters. And the bridge crossings sometimes didn't have working lifts or didn't have escalators on one particular side, which got a little bit annoying because you kind of have to haul the heavy ass pram up and down the stairs. But otherwise, the roads and the concrete and everything they're very flat and they're very developed. So it is smooth and it is easy to push a pram around KL. Accessibility to baby goods, because you want to know if you can get nappies and wipes, right? Which you can. Most shopping centres will have supermarkets, usually in the basement of the shopping centre, where you'll find a lot of imported goods like nappies, diapers, wipes, baby food, baby snacks as well. So there's definitely a whole variety of local and imported goods at supermarkets within shopping centres in KL. While we were in KL, we personally used the brand Mami Poko, which is a reputable Japanese brand of nappies, and it was actually the cheapest brand of nappies we could get there as well. We got a 28 pack of Mami Poko nappies for 32 ringgit, which equates to about 10 Australian dollars, which is similar to Australian prices. Most supermarkets also stock Heinz baby food, which we bought on several occasions. They are a little bit more expensive, bear that in mind, but if you don't really have any other options or your baby's still on pureed food, then it's good to know that you can get baby food, especially of the Heinz variety. And that's it, folks. So overall, KL is a very family-friendly city to visit. It's very developed for a Southeast Asian city, which I kind of didn't expect. It kind of reminded me a little bit of Singapore, but bigger. If you guys have been to KL with family, let me know what you guys thought. Did you find it was very family friendly in comparison to other Southeast Asian cities? Because we certainly did. Or comment below if you have any other tips in regards to traveling to KL with kids. As always guys, if you like this video and you found it useful, please make sure you give us a big thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already for more videos like these on how family friendly each city that we visit is. We'll see you guys in the next video. On the flip side, you know how it is. You already know. Bring it back in, bring it back in. Bye.
Angry, hungry, yes, I'm hangry.